Hi, all. So we didn't have a book tag last week, and we have a couple that are backed up. So we're going to do some book tags. Why is this beeping? We're going to do a couple book tags. One for today, and then we're going to save some up and come and visit with you in a week or something. I don't know. It's late. It's tired. I'm tired. Right. We did get the cheese tag started. We have it ready to go. We just have to actually put it together and get you all excited for it. So I know you've been waiting with bated breath for our cheese tag.
They don't even know what you're talking about. They're like, cheese tag?
Yeah, well, the cheese tag's coming. Anyway.
Sounds delicious.
This is the Shakespeare Journey tag, which is about as nerdy of a book tag as you can get. So, here we go. Number 1. What is your first experience with Shakespeare, and what was it like? For me, because I'm a weirdo, I was really into theater as a kid, like when I was very young. And, I don't know, probably this is definitely like middle school. And my parents didn't have a ton of books. Like, my dad would always try to, have books, but, they weren't big readers. And so, my dad had a copy of Hamlet that he'd had from college that I was, obsessed with because I was like, oh, it's a play. So I would just go around the house, reading Hamlet aloud to my family, which was probably very annoying. And there's no, musical notation for Ophelia's song, so I would just make up music for them. So that was my first experience with Shakespeare. Had no idea what I was saying, had no idea what I was talking about. I just was excited because it was a play and they had music in it. My first experience was probably...
one song.
She has a bunch of songs in that one part where she goes...
She goes crazy.
Yeah, but she has a bunch of songs, and I made up a bunch of songs. And turned it into...
Doesn't she say the Hey Nonny Nonny one, too?
Yeah, but I didn't know there was a Hey Nonny Nonny. I just went around making up sound to that song. Anyway, but my first experience with reading Shakespeare that I probably knew what the heck I was doing, for some reason, in 8th grade, the summer between 8th and 9th grade, I decided I wanted to get a head start on going to high school.
Nerd.
And I was going to read Shakespeare because I wanted to be prepped to read Shakespeare. So I got Antony and Cleopatra and decided to read that. So that was the first thing, and I really loved it. Again, I'm not 100% sure I knew what I was doing. So my first experience with probably understanding Shakespeare might have been in high school, like everybody else, when we read Merchant of Venice in 9th grade. But yeah, so I just used to read Shakespeare for fun, even though I had no idea what I was reading.
My first experience with Shakespeare, I met him on a barge. He was trying to push this play and kept spilling wine on me. So I was like, damn it, Will. I'm not sitting here while you keep spilling wine on me.
You're a Warwickshire shithouse.
That's what I said to him. And then I pushed him off the barge, and he drowned.
I don't think that actually happened.
And then, since then, he's written no plays, so I don't think he ever recovered. But also, as a freshman in high school, we had to read Romeo and Juliet. The problem is, it was my first time reading it, so I didn't understand a lot of the stuff, and they wouldn't explain any of the jokes. So it was kind of a crappy thing to read when they suck all the jokes out. It's the play is pretty funny, if you know what's going on.
It's just very dirty, and of course nobody ever wants to tell you.
She's not talking about, all the prostitution commentary and various vagina references were just being ignored. And I was like, this book's not that good. And now when I teach, I'm like, here, he's talking about his penis. And the kid's like, oh, it's fascinating. So there you go. Also
right.
Barge.
Number 2, has a reading of a Shakespeare play ever brought you to tears? What scene and where were you? Every single time I read, most of Hamlet's soliloquies, especially what is this quintessence of dust, I get very emotional. And when I used to teach, I would get, super emotional, actually reading that aloud. And then, everyone would look at me like, what is she getting upset about? I don't know what's going on here. She's very emotional about this play that none of us care about. And then somebody would raise their hand, and I would get excited thinking they were, inspired by Shakespeare.
Go to the bathroom?
And they'd ask me if it was on the test. So that was always fun. But, yeah, pretty much, Hamlet's soliloquies. What about you? You don't cry.
I don't think I've ever cried during a Shakespeare play. I had a cramp watching, what's the one with the dude, the P dude? Not Patrick.
Pericles?
Pericles. We went to Pericles on a field trip, and the seats were so uncomfortable that I got a nasty cramp in my knee, and there was no room for me to stretch out my knee. And so I guess there was some minor weeping there.
Ah.
But in terms of the actual content, no.
All right, were there any people who played a significant role in your Shakespeare journey? Well, Shakespeare, he did.
Yeah,
because if he hadn't written the plays, I mean, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird is that, like, I mean, and I liked my English teachers and everything, but, like, I don't necessarily feel like I got a lot out of reading them in school until my senior year of high school. I had an amazing British lit teacher. And then in college, I had a couple of really great professors who I think, you know, helped kind of, like, get more into Shakespeare. But I strangely, like, got into Shakespeare on my own. And so, I don't know, I guess maybe, like, the local town librarian, because I would be like, I want to read more Shakespeare. And she was like, oh, let me tell you about Shakespeare. And so, you know, I guess being, like, 12 and asking for Shakespeare plays, the librarian was probably just so excited. She was like, what is happening right now? But yeah, I don't know. Actually, well, later in my life, the Reduced Shakespeare Company made me like Shakespeare more. I don't know. What about you?
Not really. All my high school teachers were crap at teaching it, so I didn't like it in high school. And then I just started reading it on my own in, like, college and stuff. And I was like, oh, this guy is actually really good. All that hype is earned. But at first I was like, these books are boring. And they weren't even plays to me. They're just books. So we didn't do anything with it. We just read the stuff. And no one explained anything to you. And you had to be like, what the hell's in a Ross? It was just, what's a ducat? It was just, like, very frustrating.
Do you have a favorite book or film about Shakespeare? So, again, the Reduced Shakespeare Company, Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged, is hilarious. And if you haven't read that play or seen it, it's amazing, and you need to go track it down because it's super, super funny. Obviously, Shakespeare in Love, I think. I don't have, like, there's not a lot of, like, autobiographies about Shakespeare, or, well, obviously no autobiographies. Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who actually inspired my Shakespeare journey was
Folger?
Our tour guide when we went to Stratford. They were pretty cool. Anyway, but I don't know. So, like, books and films, I mean, other than, like, his actual plays, I would say the Reduced Shakespeare Company was good, and then, like, yeah, Shakespeare in Love, but, like, and then obviously the film adaptations. When I was in high school, my senior year, we watched the Polanski Macbeth, which was made for Playboy. So there was, like, a bunch of nudity, and she was just like, just ignore these scenes. It was, like, R or X-rated, like, Shakespeare. But, yeah, and then there was that Bad Romeo and Juliet, which I actually really dislike, the one from, like, the 70s, where, like, apparently the girl, like, has come forward and been like, yeah, they basically, like, made me, like, get sexually, like, close with this boy that was, like, way older than me, and I was super uncomfortable. So, yeah, I don't like that one. I do like the new one, though, the Leonardo DiCaprio one. I guess it's not new, it's like 30 years old now, but...
That one's good, the Baz Luhrmann one.
Yeah.
I, of course, also really like Shakespeare in Love. I like that autobiographical work that Shakespeare wrote, That Time I Fell Off a Barge. That was a really good one.
Sir Chong knocked me off the barge.
Yeah, Chong booted me from a barge was one of the quotes from that book. I doth boot too much, he said. Remember that time I ran through Anne Hathaway's maze?
Yeah, well, you stepped over it because it hadn't grown. We went in April and it was just getting, like, going.
It still was up, like, at, like, a little above hip length. That's a high step.
Yeah, but it wasn't like...
I had to high step through that thing.
You didn't run through the maze. You walked over the maze.
I was like, see, watch how fast I can go through this maze. And I just ran.
And obviously he means Anne Hathaway being Shakespeare's wife at her, her home, not Anne Hathaway the actress. I mean, she might have a Shakespeare maze in her backyard too. I don't know.
Fun fact, they're actually the same person. She's just a witch.
Oh, okay. Number 5. What Shakespeare character most resembles you and in which way? I mean, obviously Hamlet. I'm like a moody, whiny, sad, depressed
who talks too much and doesn't do anything.
Yeah, there you go. I am Hamlet. Okay, there you go. I talk too much.
Yeah. Okay, mine's Iago. Because he's so sweet and kind and...
Iago's a sociopath.
Evil, psychopathic, planning, manipulative bastard. I love him. He's so tricky.
You don't resemble him. You're not that evil.
He's so tricky. He leads people into doing the dumbest stuff, and they all think it's their idea after he manipulates them.
He took the, like...
He's the greatest.
What is your alignment quiz?
Iago.
And was disappointed that he had to admit that, like, sometimes he
I got chaotic evil.
Okay, yeah, but you only got like 30%, and you were like hoping.
Chaotic evil. That's like Iago on a stick.
I got lawful good.
You're lame. Iago's awesome.
All right.
Some shit they named that stupid bird after him.
Number 6. What play would you most like to see performed and why? I've actually seen a ton of Shakespeare plays performed. Twelfth Night is one of my favorites to see live because I just think Twelfth Night, it's such a great play. It's super funny, but it really, really doesn't translate as well. None of his comedies. I feel like his comedies do not translate as well as, like, I mean, you can read the tragedies and enjoy them.
They're meant to be performed.
But the comedies, the comedies are so, like, slapstick and, like, people misunderstanding things, and they really don't carry over as effectively. Where, like, the tragedy, it's like, okay, these horrible things are happening. We can understand what's happening even if we're not seeing it. I mean, obviously, every Shakespeare play is best. But, I mean, I'm pretty spoiled because I get to see Hamlet on Shakespeare's birthday at the Globe Theater.
Me too.
Yep, so I don't know that I don't know that I need to see anything else at this point. I've seen Twelfth Night at Shakespeare in the Park. I've seen Much Ado About Nothing a few times. I've seen Romeo and Juliet like 900 billion times.
Saw a great deal of ruckus concerning Zilch.
Okay, yes. All right. So, what about you?
Yeah. I guess, like,
Othello, because you've never seen
the
it.
The comedies are pretty good. Like, my favorite time I think I actually had watching it was the 12th night. It was the 12th time we saw it.
That's when we saw it in the park, right?
Yeah, it was so good live. But I can't think of any of the comedies I haven't really seen at least some version of that I really like. So I'm going to go with probably the play I like the most I haven't seen, which is probably King Lear. Or maybe Macbeth.
What about Othello?
I like King Lear better than Othello.
Oh.
I love Iago the most, but the play Othello is very good, but I like King Lear better.
All right, so 7. Who throughout history would you most like to have seen play Hamlet in their prime? Well, here's the thing, and we had this long debate randomly when we went off on a tangent on one of our videos one day, and we just spent like 20 minutes discussing how Hamlet's supposed to be like in his early 20s, and he's always played by these like 45-year-old men, and that's partially because like Burbage was in his 30s, and like, was this name Burbage? Yeah, right?
Yeah, Dickie Burbage.
And, you know, so Shakespeare, even though the character was written as a college kid or like a late teen, early 20s, you know, he basically knew that the only actor who could handle that role was in his 30s. So he kind of like played it off. And so he'd be like, at one point he references that he's 30, but it's only because of the, you know, anyway, that's like a little bit of nerd trivia if you didn't know. But so like, I actually really, really like there's a modern sort of movie version with Ethan Hawke. And I actually thought Ethan Hawke did a really good job. And he's kind of like, if I hadn't seen that, he would be the kind of person that I think, like, when he was in his 20s, he's a good fit, you know? So, like, right now, I don't know, maybe, I want to say Timothée Chalamet, just because, like, he is kind of, like, the right look, but I just kind of, for some reason, hate Timothée Chalamet, even though he's a great actor, and he's never, well, now he's dating, like, a Kardashian, so I hate him, but, like, he's a really good actor, but for some reason I get angry at him, even though he's done nothing wrong, and he's been in, like, every movie he's been good in, so, but he just irritates me for some reason, because he's so good, I guess, and he was just kind of, like, all of a sudden showed up and was, like, in your face nonstop, and I was like, okay, go away. So I would say, right now, I think the young actor that I think would be best to play him would probably be, like, maybe Jacob Elordi or Paul Mescal. Paul Mescal's he's in a weird age. I have no idea how old he is, because he plays like a dad and after son, but then he's like in high school and like some other thing. So I have no idea how old that guy is. So he'd probably be good. And Jacob Elordi's from Euphoria. He's really good too. What do you think?
That's the kissing booth guy.
Yeah, but he would
not
pretend he's not in the kissing booth.
He would not make a good Hamlet at all.
He would,
no.
If you only have seen Euphoria.
He could maybe pull off Laertes, but there's no way in hell he'd make a good Hamlet.
I bet he'd make a good Hamlet.
An awful pick for Hamlet. Get the hell out
He's
of here.
a really good actor. I haven't seen the kissing booth, so stop letting the kissing booth.
You're missing out.
Well, you need to stop letting the kissing booth affect your reality.
Booth,
okay,
right?
yeah, I get
this
it.
Booth.
Okay, anyway, continue.
All right. I would like to wait about 10 years and then have Ian McKellen play Hamlet. and play it as if he's a college student, even though he'll be like 97.
Oh, yeah, he would have been good in his prime, definitely.
Everybody.
He probably did at some point.
Yeah, most likely. He's a British dude.
Oh, I think, like, Betta, didn't you get me,
Cumberbatch?
like, a Cumberbatch
I think
one?
Cumberbatch
or,
plays it.
Oh, Matt Smith. Just because
Matt
he's
Smith
so
or
hot.
Tennant would be pretty good.
Matt Smith. Oh, is it Tennant that you got me?
I think the one I got is Tennant, actually.
Oh, yeah, so basically...
Cumberbatch is in Frankenstein, I think.
Oh, right. He plays both Victor and the creature, right? Oh, no, Jude Law played the creature?
I was thinking of Jude Law a minute ago.
Yeah, they're all really good. So, I mean, basically someone British, let's be honest. Like,
British
American actors are...
Oh, well,
Nathan. Jacob Elordi's Australian, so
oh, my
he
God.
is good.
That dude is not a good actor. You just want to bang him.
I don't want to bang him. He's like 12.
So?
He's just like, really good in Euphoria.
30. He's like 30 or 25.
No, he's like 25. But he's...
Anyway.
He's like half my age. Also, he's really good in Euphoria.
I mean, he doesn't portray a booth in the kissing booth, but it's still a valuable role.
Anyway, number 8, your favorite speech or soliloquy. So I already kind of touched on it, but I love what is this quintessence of
we
dust?
have the same one.
But also, I like clean...
majestical roof fretted with golden fire.
Yeah, also, any of Hamlet's soliloquies. I really also like, the Queen Mab, like everybody does.
I like tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Life is but a walking shadow.
Oh, that's good. And then there's the one from, like, one of the histories. I forget, like, plugged up with the Our English Dead. That one's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Henry V?
Yeah, no.
Henry VIII? I don't know.
I can't remember. Is it Henry V?
Whatever. You guys know.
I can't remember. I know.
Google it if you don't.
I forget it too.
What's yours? So we have the same one, the quintessence of dust.
Yeah, I love that one from Hamlet's my favorite again, and the one from Macbeth is very good. I feel like there's something in Twelfth Night that I like, but I can't remember what it is. It's not the big one.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. Whatever. But yeah, my favorite is definitely...
Well, it doesn't have as many soliloquies in his comedies. I mean, Merchant of Venice has that Mercy, the one about Mercy, which is pretty good, but eh. Number 9. Do any of Shakespeare's plays intimidate you, and if yes, which one? Well, since I started with Hamlet and turned it into my musical that I walked around my house at, and like not understanding a word of what I was saying, obviously no. Because, I mean, I think if anything's going to intimidate you, it's Hamlet, because it's just so, like... It is the foundation of all, like, Western literature. So, I mean, that's the one that should intimidate people. But no, I'm not really intimidated by Shakespeare. I guess I never was. I just was like, Shakespeare's cool. I hear he's cool. I don't care. I've never been very intimidated by literature.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that really intimidates me is, like, every time I see Timon of Athens, he punches me, like, really hard. Oh. And so I'm like, this guy's intimidating... please stop beating me up.
Oh, is it Henry IV that's in like 7 parts? Because I don't want to read that many parts.
3 parts.
Yeah, but I don't care. There's too many parts about some guy I don't care about.
Okay.
All right, number 10. What tips would you give to intimidated Shakespeare new readers? Find the play, and then I'm a fan of the No Fear Shakespeare, because I think like finding a No Fear version is a really good way to like find the humor and figure out like what these things mean, so that you're not like so overwhelmed that you're trying to figure out what it is. So if you've never been exposed to Shakespeare, I mean, honestly though, my like best tip is to watch it, because you're going to pick up things that you would never pick up. But if you can watch it and read along, or if you can like, I love the sort of modern retellings, because I think they do a really good job of like telling the story in a way that like is interesting, and then you can go and read, like you can go read Twelfth Night after you've watched She's the Man, or you can go read Taming the Shrew after you've watched 10 Things I Hate About You, and you have like so much insight into what's going on, and then it's a lot easier to navigate, or watch like the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet.
Is that much to do with Nathan Fillion is...
Oh, yeah. That's what I was going to say. And then you can read along, because they're actually in the Shakespearean language, too. So you can, like, follow it, but you can actually see it. But I think if you're, like, really intimidated, I definitely think start with one that has, like, a modern version, and then watch the modern retelling, and then kind of read the play, because then you, like, already have, like, the characters down and the plot down. I mean, obviously they're different, but at least when you're, like... trying to figure out what's going on with like Viola and Olivia in Twelfth Night, if you've seen She's the Man, you're going to totally get the plot. I remember teaching it, and all my students who'd seen She's the Man would get so excited because they're like, oh, I know this story. You know, and I think if you can, like, break the idea that the story is intimidating and, like, out of reach, and then you can kind of dig into the language a little bit easier.
Yeah, I remember in the original Shakespeare they used tampons as well in their noses. Oh no, that's probably some creative license. Actually.
Yeah, I think so. Right. Those are great though.
Yeah, what the heck is this question?
What tips would you give?
Read Shakespeare with me.
Yeah,
I will make it incredibly fun, and I'll explain all the stuff to you. That's awesome. You'll love it.
And then 11, what is your favorite Shakespeare play and why? I mean, I know it's super generic and like
going straight chalk on this one.
Come on, it's Hamlet. I mean. It is like it's the foundation of Western literature. So, I don't know, like, it's not, and the thing with, like, Hamlet is like Harry Potter in the fact that, like, it's, like, so, like, everyone talks about, everyone knows it, it's the thing that you associate with Shakespeare. But let's be honest, there's a reason for that, because it's so good. And I mean, like, it's like Harry Potter, just, not that Harry Potter's intimidating, but, like, at some point you're like, okay, yes, Harry Potter. But, like, there's a reason that everyone loves it.
Probably a lot of people who acted in Harry Potter also acted in Shakespeare.
Yeah, they have, right?
Kenneth Branagh,
right.
He plays a bad Hamlet.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, like, sometimes you're like, oh, it's like, you almost get bored with it because you've heard about it so much, but, like, there's a reason. Certain things are that ubiquitous because of the fact that they're just, like, they're that good, and Hamlet is that good.
Yeah, it's always annoying when you have to say this, because it's like, it's the most obvious thing to pick, but it's Hamlet. It's just is the best one. There's no debate. I don't think best comedy. I heard comedy is 12th Night.
Mine too. Yeah, I love 12th Night.
But yeah, Hamlet's great. The only thing, of course, is people are always like, "Oh, Hamlet's the hero. Hamlet's the villain.
No, he's not.
Laertes is the hero."
No, Hamlet is amazing.
We talked about this before. We're not going to start all over again.
Right.
But Laertes is the hero in that story. It's a tragedy. Not because Hamlet, spoiler, dies, but because Laertes dies.
It is a tragedy, but that's because everybo's
pretty much everybody dies except Fortinbras. He's like, what's going on? Oh, everybody's dead, are they? Oh, great. Okay, I guess I'm in charge.
All right, so that's Shakespeare.
Bid the arrow shoot.
Let us know what you think. All right. Bye.
Boop.